I can simulate everything, then start working with the meshing, but again, I can prepare that, then I can do the simulation. So what I will do is that I will just make sure to come back here and just set up this as 2.5. I will really do this one to 0.1, and I don't need mist now. We know how the mist is gonna come. I don't need it in this. Maybe we'll add it, but anyway, I don't need it now. Let's just go down and to rendering, and in rendering I need to convert this from mesh to ocean mesh, which is open surface. Now the ocean level is 8 as we have it in the dynamic, just to make sure. This is the most important thing, so we have the same level. The ocean subdivision, we explained that before. I will just keep it as it is. 2, and for the horizon roughness, again, I really don't care much because I have really deep horizon, but for now we will also just discover more about this thing now before we simulate everything. Let me just go back to 0, and I may increase this into 1 and activate the use liquid particles to take the liquid in consideration when meshing or smoothing the particles. Now we have everything, and I can even see the mesh. Let's just bring this to 0 to speed up things, because we have already some particles. I can go here, just make sure it's not activated, and I can just press mesh. This is the water surface. Let's look at it from another view. As you can see here, this is how it looks like. What happens now is that based on the camera view, Phoenix FD will create this surface, which is very optimized. What I mean about optimized, it has high resolution here. But I don't need really a lot of resolution here because it's so far. That's why we will need some factors like horizon roughness and ocean subdivision, which gonna enhance the results for the displacement or this displaced water after we add displacement here next. And that's important. Now, if we don't want to deal with these problems here in the horizon, all we need to do is to add a plane and to add the same kind of displacement here. So we can go here and create a plane, and like this after the container, and we look at it from here. And in this plan we will put the same displacement. Of course, we need to increase its divisions really to a big amount, like at least 500 by 500. It will be more expensive on the render because it's just a lot of resolution. Let me just make sure. If we will jump to the side view, I need to increase it so it is on the same level as the water. But because we are adding the same displacement later, it will have the same pattern. That one will spare me some render time, although it has a lot of faces. But if we think about this factor, which is ocean subdivision, it's so consuming in terms of render time. If I increase it to 4, sometimes it increases the render time 3 to 4 times, so I don't need that. But again, let's go with the standard, and it's not that much to increase the render time because it's manageable. So this is the mesh, and now we can add some displacement. I prepared one, but in general it's easy to do one. You can do a new one. All you need to do is to press here and to go to the material, choose the map, which is Phoenix Ocean texture, and bring it here. I will wait a little because I have a lot of materials libraries which is connected to this. Anyway, I can go to Phoenix and here ocean texture, and if you choose it, basically it's here, and I can just copy it. Let's copy it here, instance. This is it. All I need to do to have my ocean, the one I want, is to decrease or increase this. Maybe I'll put it 5. It will make big waves, as you can see here. Or I can do 2, and will create decent and good waves which I can use. So both ways is good, My original one is the same as 2, but what I did is that I eliminated these two, the velocity, coherence, and crest. So I really don't need them. I will use this one here. That's it. And now I will make sure that I have the same level. If I will decrease this or increase it, that means I'm talking about a different level of water, and that's what you are seeing here. Just make sure this has the same number as in your dynamics. If you go to dynamics, this is the fill up number, which is right, 8. That's it for what I want. These numbers are important here, and to take that in consideration, there are a lot of complaints I have from some people who are working on such scenes, and they always come to say, we simulated something above the water, and we had some foam coming from certain areas, or the foam in the scene here seems good. When we render everything, the foam is not coming from the same area, and sometimes you have a boat which has some holes or something, and the foam is displaced, and that's for sure because when you use the shader here, it will take in consideration these displacement bumps, and it will change the position of the foam already. So what you can see is that whenever the water comes up, you need to reduce displacement. It's not normal if the water is like having big splash like this to have displacement here. The displacement should appear only on the surface of the water, not when the splash is happening. So that's why you have all these controls. One of them is fade level, which after this level you will have no displacement, and fade above velocity if you want to connect that to velocity. And remember, every point here, every particle will have certain velocity, and the splash has more velocity than the normal water. And when the splashed area of the body, the water body, has certain velocity, we can just change this and make sure that it doesn't have any displacement, which can eliminate any kind of displaced areas here. So this is all about the displacement. Now we are ready, but we need to establish an environment, and I prefer to go always here and untick this, and we can go here and activate this one, make sure that we have this smoothed. For the environment, if we go to material, I already prepared this and I talked about it before. So what you can do is that you can create a V-Ray HDRI from maps. Here you can just go to maps and create a V-Ray HDRI. This is it, and basically let's import this picture, which I will attach with the project files. This is it. It's big HDRI map 4K, and just convert it from 3D Max standard into spherical. That's everything you need to do. Of course, you can rotate it so you can see the part you want just by changing this. And if you want to see it in the viewport, or you need to go to wireframe and the background here, let's put it first on the environment. So go to 8 and drop it here. So it's in the environment, and you can go here and display the environment. So because you did that, you will see it here. That means if you rotate, you want to rotate it horizontally, you can change the view here, like you will see another view just by changing this number, as you see here. It's darker here. I prefer to leave it as it was. Maybe I will even add some lights here. So if we change this, it's originally 1. I change it to 0.5 just to reduce the amount of light. As you can see, it reflects on the viewport. This is so cool. Also, you can do the gamma here, which increase the exposure. So that's what you want to do for the environment. This one contributes a lot in shading and lighting the water, because now all the lights I have in my scene are just so simple, but it's designed to light foam and the surface, the water from one side, because see, I have one sunlight and just 2 other lights, and we'll explain this Next. So the lights I have are simple. I have one sunlight, and the settings are actually it's default. I'm not changing anything, but I changed the intensity to 0.007 because of the scene scale and everything. It's enough for me to light everything. And also I just make it invisible. Maybe you will need it to be invisible, but you have to coordinate between its placement and the placement of the sun in the sky. Other than that, I left it as it is. I decreased the shadow subdivision to 1, except if I will need that, but in general I don't. And I added other 2 lights. If we'll go here to top view, I added 1 ambient light because the other areas here I'm not activating any global illumination. If I will go here, GI is not activated, so I assume only the areas which is covered by the sunlight are lit by light. Other areas like here and here and here are actually not having any light, so that's why I add 1 ambient light. And the ambient light here, the very ambient light, just have a very small value, and basically as it is, I didn't change anything. And this light is one simple omni light, which I can choose to exclude or include whatever I want. So sometimes I need to relight the water more or the particles more. I can just use exclude to do that without any shadow. Of course, the only shadow should be from 1 light. And now I will know exactly that the lights who can contribute my final result are all these lights, including the sky. Without the sky, the water is not realistic at all. It should maybe look like a good water, but it's not realistic. The shader for the water, simple, very simple. So it's dark material here for the diffuse. This is always for water, and here it's just white 100%. I can do the same here. Refract, I always add a little bit of grayness here to diffuse the light coming on the surface of the sea. And also I can do this here, just decrease this, not just 0.99 even good. But again, I did the same here, diffuse the water, the refracted water. IOR, which is in the index of refraction, is 1.333, which is the water. I didn't change anything here, just added a fog color, so whenever we go deep in the water or see deep in the water, it has in this color, and just decrease this into 0.01. And that's it. This is for the water, and this is for the sky. This is also for the displacement. So I have everything. And just to give you an idea about the shader of the whale, the shader of the whale here is just diffused, just a standard V-Ray material. In other scenes, the previous scenes, in my other scenes, I have full subsurface scattering for the whale. It doesn't consume any time actually. So that's it for the scene. This is what I have now, and let's see if we can start rendering everything. Before we do that, we need to redo the simulation. To put the final settings for the simulation, what I will do is that I will increase the voxels amount. I have now this, which we're able to create amount of, if you will go here, you remember, it's like almost 150. I actually need to increase this so much, so I will just press this button several times until I see like almost 100 millions. What that would do is that it will increase this number accordingly. So I have 1,800,000 or 2 millions almost at the beginning. Now I have 99 million, so I assume that I increase this like 50 times or something, so that should be the same here, but it doesn't increase the foam that much or the splash of the same percent as I mentioned before. So that's what I want. Other than that, I will not change anything. Only thing is that if you remember when we were here, when everything went down, we had some foam and some splashes and all these elements. I need to increase the foam here because I wanted to really cover everything, and I can do that simply by going here and just animate the foam. So the foam quantity can increase from this 2.4, just I can animate and with a keyframe here, and here I can increase it to 4 as example, and I will do that for the final simulation. But for now, that's all you need to do. Also, it's wise to go down to preview and put auto reduction so you don't display all the particles when there are millions. That will slow down the system. Other than that, in output, make sure to activate velocity if you want to use velocity, and here in the input also. Nothing more. Let's run the final simulation and have the results before we start testing and rendering the foam and the splashes. I'm not including any mist here because it's easy to regenerate here. You can just regenerate it, or you can do it by yourself. It's easy, and even the shader for the mist is simply another foam shader. That's what we want to see, mainly the splash and the foam, and these are the elements we usually saw in the reference. So let's simulate, and I will come back after everything is finished. Before I start displaying the results, which we finished and everything is ready, I want to say something here about the output. So imagine that you want to open, I said before that you can simulate once and twice and 3 times. So one of the techniques to do is to simulate once, and now you have all these elements, the foam, splash and mist. Then if you want to change this or resimulate again just one element, you have to make sure that you can do it using resimulate. You can duplicate the result and use the output here as example as input for the next resimulation. There are some documents about it. It's a whole subject to go through, but you have input and you have output. You can change this to reflect the same output. Already it's directed to the same output, so you can change this to make sure that you have the output there, and from the output you can recreate any element, create another or additional splash, additional foam, and add it to the simulation. But when you press this and go here, if you want the Phoenix FT to read these, you can just say save or just start here. If you will say save here, it will not go because you didn't choose any file. So if you choose one of these and say save, it will take these numbers. It will just add these to the name, which you don't want to. So you will do just one thing. You will go here and delete all these numbers and add 4 hashtags because it's 4 numbers, and save. Now it will read these particles. Now let's go and display the particles. If you go to review, and I don't want to display all the particles, just 2, reduce them by 2. This is the liquid particles. I will hide the splashes and the mist already hidden, and the foam. We see if there is any mist. I didn't activate mist anyway, so there is no mist. And for the foam, I will hide it. This is the liquid. Let's see the liquid. The amount of liquid here is huge. I'm using my small computer again just to make sure that you will know that you can do all this in your small computer. Laptop also you can do this. So but the production is the result is production ready. So we have 7 millions for the liquid, which is good, but we can add it to, to increase to 20 millions. Already, since we started here, the amount of foam is big, but it's not multiplied by 20 or 30 like we did for the liquid. It stayed around the amount we assumed at the beginning, which is between 8 to 20 millions, and that's good. So you will see here the update. When it updates the amount, it's just 4 millions and it's increasing. But now we are looking at the liquid itself. Still the liquid is reacting really good with the whale movement. As you can see, it's vertical, it's not overreacting. So if I go a little back, maybe here. I have a good amount of particles coming out with the whale, and they will start going right and left like this, but they are vertical. They are not just really spreading much outside of this area. If I want to display everything, I can go to review and I can just reduce this. This is 7 million particles in the viewport, but it shows how the particles are spreading everywhere. So I can go to 50 here to see before. You have to note that everything is so local here, and that's why I just reduce the width of the water. That means everything is just local, it doesn't really go right or left much. But this is exactly the effect I want. If you compare it to the reference again, it should be local. It doesn't go like with big spread here. So it should be local, then it can go up. So if I will go more, I will see that it follows the whale to a certain degree, but it just stopped. It doesn't go much up. That's what I want. And finally, if I will go here, when the whale is jumping back, because this will just disappear. I have the rebel, it's all contained within the container. Actually, I can just kill the container from here because it's extended a lot, as well as the height. If I will go also little frames here, maybe I will see how the water is acting in this area when the whale is touching the water. See, everything is good. I can look at it from another perspective, so it's clear more. Let's look at it from perspective. Because I'm displaying all the particles, it seems like a lot of amount to move, but I can go to 145, and here I should see some reaction for the particles. This is all almost 8 millions, and that's very good. It's local. They are not just spreading in a place which I don't want them to spread. Again, this kind of splash is the one I mentioned before. It's so controlled. It's local. It's not designed to give you the total amount of details just by rendering the water body, because all what we are planning to see and to render is the foam and splash. And as you can see here, with just 8 million, almost 7.5 millions of liquid, we generated almost 30 millions of foam and 500,000 of splashes. That's enough for me, but it seems a lot, but never a lot. If you can, you do. I will jump to the camera again, and I will try to display other elements. So I will just increase this to 3, because when I display the foam as example, it will be a lot for the viewport. This is the splashes, it's not much, so I can go to 0, but here I see the splash covering all the screen. This is what I wanted exactly. I wanted the whale to be here and to cover everything with this. But let's see the beginning. So nice, exactly like we wanted. I could do one thing. I could do here, I can go here and increase this liquid alike to 2 or 3 and make sure they are not spread that much, so they are compact more. Jump here. Now their number is more, and they are exactly like what we want. And if I will go here, check their number is 2 millions almost, and I just compare it to the reference. They are doing exactly what we expected. Of course, I can make them going up more by allowing the container to be up and allow the dynamic, the particles here to go up by even increasing the interaction here by going here and increasing this number. But this is what I want for this scene, and you will see in the render it's exactly what you would expect from a whale to do. It's not explosion after all, but it's just simulate everything you need for the splash. Let's go again here. The splash gonna stay. It's not like the water because I have age for this splash, and now it will be diffused more if you notice, because it lost its speed, initial speed, and it looks like a mist. Actually, if we simulate the mist, it will look exactly like that, but a little more here. It has more speed because actually it did splash. Let's go here and we will see some of this going down. But again, look at this. This is going very slowly down. This need to be changed. Actually, what we need to do is to go here to splash. Make sure to drop this number, so it has more allowance to go far and drop very fast, not to be dragged so much in the air. And actually this is the most important number to change. Here the falling speed should be at least 6 or 7, but now it's good to know what's gonna happen. Even the wheel is now in its way going down. We will still see these, and you'll see them in the render. They are here. It's not realistic, they should be down. Let's go here and maybe jump to 45 and see that all the scene is covered by the splashes. Now go down finally, and I will increase this into 3 at least to see how the foam is doing. Let's go the first frame because it has a huge amount of particles. Sorry, the foam. This is it. So now even we just started, this is the foam, and remember we are displaying just 3 times less than the actual number, actually 4 times. So if you will go to 0, it will be huge, and this is matching the reference. If we'll go here, we'll go here. At the beginning of the explosion, it should be like that. It has this shape. So the beginning is like that, then it will go. This is it. This is exactly what we want. I will reduce this number by going here to see exactly how it's doing. Remember, even these are created by themselves, like a foam, not created by the splash. Some of them are created because the splash reached the water, but these are following the same trajectory. So everything should blend really well together. Now I have a lot of them sliding from the whale body going down. We are trying to analyze their movement, so we know exactly what to change if we will do a final simulation. I will leave that to you because everything here is already, and I can change some numbers to tell you what would be the final simulation. So maybe you'll share your result with me and show me that you can do better than I do. So again, it's filling the screen, and this is what I want. Now in this frame, I know totally that if we'll go here and see how much particles we have 30 millions. If I will just go here and decrease this by 1, look, it's a lot to put, but here's 0. And when I put 0, I have everything filled here, so I have a lot of particles here. Still, look at the difference between the particles here. This will be dots, and I don't want to see them as dots, but I have the ability with the shader to duplicate their numbers, or after adding the motion blur, maybe the depth of field here, because everything is close to the screen, I will have everything so much exactly like I want, blended and acting well. So let's go and render some of these particles. I will decrease this much because I don't need to see all these particles here, and maybe I don't need to display even the foam because it's the biggest amount. I will display the splashes. Now let's talk about the changes you may implement in your scene. My advice to go with, you can keep the liquid as it is here. Maybe you can increase it a little by going to the grid here and just increase it once. If you increase it once, it will be 193, which is double. I don't prefer that. I would say just bring this to 22 and you will have 128, or just even 0 and you will have something like 170. So you will end up with 15 to 16 millions, or even 13 to 14 millions. So now just keep it like that. Let's just see other changes you can do. For the foam, this is a huge number. I said that I can just animate the final number here by going from the 2.5, which is the original number here, and increase it to 4 here. So just to increase the amount of foam at the final frame. You can do that. But for me, if you look at here, 30 is a good number. and as much as you have more particles with 15 here, like example, it's good. You can drop this to 15 or 10 millions and you still, I think, good.